to the my screen share here. So let me give me some water and we're about to get this party started. All right, let's see. Mute everybody here. All right. All right, so here we go, guys. We are in the foreword, and if you've listened to the audio version already, this kind of may be a little bit of a recap for you, but there's some real nuggets in there. I tried to keep those audios somewhere around the 30-minute mark, but man, the book is just so deep. Could go much deeper than that, but I wanted to keep those trainings about 30 minutes, and there's just a couple points that I just wanted to kind of teach on just a little bit, and I thought it would be nice to kind of touch on some. So first, I want to thank you guys, for being a part of this, and I hope it's going to add value to you. I know as I've gone through this has really helped me. Teaching it, teaching is one of the best things. If you want to learn something, you teach it, right? So as we jump in, so the first thing I think, one of the things is great about the foreword that we jumped into, even though it's only a real short chapter, he's kind of got this promise for us, right? He promises what's coming in the rest of the book. And he starts with this line on line 5. So if you're going through with us on the printed version there that I sent to you, or on our online platform, we also have the PDF version there. But on line 5, he says, they themselves are the makers of themselves. They themselves are the makers of themselves. And we hear that and it's like, oh, what does that mean? Right? I think on some level we all kind of know that, but what does that actually mean? And what does that mean to you? Like Tanny, what does that mean to you, to Edward, to Thomas, to Scott? What does that mean to us, right? To Nicholas, what does that mean to us? And when he says, you yourselves are the maker of yourself, I'm the maker of myself. So it's all of us that's the maker of ourselves. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I think it's kind of empowering too, and it's a great promise, but how is that so? How is that? Why is it not working as well as perhaps we would like, if that's the truth? And that's kind of what we want to kind of dig into today. So in order to do that, I think in order to understand how that is the case, then we need to look at a model for the mind, really. And for some of you that have watched some of the 3-2 or 5-4-3-2-1 videos, this may be kind of a revision or a refresher, but I find this just super fascinating. So think about, we're talking about as a man thinketh. How does a man thinketh, right? How does a man thinketh? Well, if you think about thinking, think about the process of thinking about your mind. And if you think about the mind, what image do you come up with, right? We think in pictures. And if you can't really come up with an image, it can kind of be confusing a little bit, right? But if you do, what image do you typically get? And if you're kind of like most people, you get the image of the brain, but just think about the brain. The brain is not the mind, is it? The brain is a part of the body. We have a body, but we're not a body. We have a body, the brain is part of that body, but the mind is something different, isn't it? So we need a model of the mind in order to understand the process of thinking and to really get to the bottom of what James Allen is talking about here in the book when he says, as a man thinketh. And Dr. Thurman Fleet came up with the idea. I think this model was kind of great. It goes way back to like the 1930s, I think. And we're going to use this circle to represent the mind. And of course, we have the body right here, but the body is just kind of a puppet, if you will, of the mind. The mind is where the power lies. So that represents the mind, and that's the body there. And even if you're kind of new to this concept, you've probably heard of the idea of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Most people are familiar with those two concepts, aren't they? And have an idea of kind of what they are, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So real simple, the conscious mind, that's where we're consciously aware of, and the subconscious mind is the things and the stuff and the experiences and where all the data and everything really like that, right? And all of our baggage that we've kind of collected that we're not necessarily aware of, because it's kind of below that level of conscious awareness. So consciously, we're aware. Subconsciously, there's things like our habits and our values and our opinions, our belief systems, our perceptions, and all those are controlled from this part of the mind, the subconscious part of the mind, our self-image. All those things are the subconscious mind. And we're not necessarily aware of all of those all at the same time, or exactly what it is that we actually believe, right? Or think about this until we don't really think about this until someone asks you a question or begin thinking about it. Kind of what we need to do is kind of explore this. And we want to dig into that just a little bit to really see what's in there. And just real quick, kind of a real simple example of the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is, let me ask you guys this. If you think about your cell phone number, what happens? It pops into your conscious awareness, doesn't it? Now, you knew the number before, but perhaps you weren't consciously aware of it. It kind of pops, boop, pops into your conscious awareness that you can use it, right? But then as you focus on something else and you start thinking about all these other things, it kind of falls out of conscious awareness and it makes way for whatever else, right? Whatever you're thinking about at that time. But the whole time you know it, you know your cell phone number the whole time, but it's kind of in that conscious part of our mind. So we've got conscious mind, subconscious mind, and there's a part of the mind that gathers the information, and there's a part of the mind that controls our behavior, and they're not the same part, right? That's kind of what we're really talking about here. They kind of work in isolation. The part that gathers information, you might gather great intellectual insights, but intellectual insights it's not the same thing as change, right? As true change. It feels like it is because we think, oh man, that was great, right? That was great. But until it's emotionally integrated, it doesn't really change our life. Intellectual insight is not the same thing as change. So this kind of shows us that just a little bit, doesn't it? As we kind of look at this, because the conscious mind is the intellectual mind. It's the thinking mind. Whereas that subconscious mind is the feeling mind, it's the emotional mind. And as creative beings, we have the ability to think creatively, right? We can think about anything in the world that we want to think. And research, there's all kind of research that shows that we think between 60,000 and 90,000 thoughts per day, somewhere around there, depending on the research you look at. So really thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts every day. But here's the problem. Right? The trouble is 90% of those thoughts are the same exact thoughts as we were thinking yesterday. And tomorrow, most of them are going to be the same exact thoughts that we thought today. So we have this ability to think creatively, but we very often don't use it though. And it's in the conscious mind that our thinking mind, that's where we have the ability to choose our thoughts. We choose our thoughts. We can choose any thought we want, and we can accept or reject any idea in this conscious part of our mind. But whatever thoughts we choose, whatever thoughts we accept, they're kind of impressed. We use those thoughts and we kind of impress them upon this subconscious mind. And this part of your mind has no ability to reject those thoughts. And that's a powerful thought right there, that no ability to reject those thoughts. So, and so they kind of change our feelings, right? We were thinking about this. We were watching a movie last night, and it was kind of, I can get into a movie for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I can really get into a movie. But, even though you know the movie's not real, it's just lights and sounds and camera coming from a TV. But as you're entertained and you're engaging with the ideas, you respond in an emotional way, right? If you read something in the newspaper, and there's all kind of crazy stuff going on right now, but if you read something that's happening on the other side of the world to people you don't even know, you can get mad, or you can get bitter, or you can even become happy, right? you respond emotionally to those ideas if you kind of entertain those ideas, if you kind of let them simmer, right? So our subconscious mind, it has to accept these thoughts and then responds to them, right? So, here's a real quick. Here's another super simple, real quick example. One of my favorites, because I kind of like to meditate and I like to think, and it sounds like Scott likes to do a lot of that too, and I love your journaling there. But so let's try this. Don't be weirded out by this, okay? You guys close your eyes, right? Just want you to close your eyes. If you got your eyes closed, just imagine there's this little mosquito flying above your head, and kind of in no time, you know, your skin kind of starts to crawl, and you start thinking, well, what is that? And you kind of become aware of some sensation somewhere on your skin, somewhere on your body. And I mean, that happens all the time, doesn't it? But then when you notice it, you project that thinking onto, is that a mosquito or is that a spider? What is that? I mean, I can feel something crawling across my leg. I know he said to imagine a mosquito, but what if it actually is? What if it actually is a mosquito? And your mind kind of runs away with you a little bit, doesn't it? And so, and your subconscious mind, it kind of responds. It's really, really powerful. Those thoughts are expressed in the body. Now, then that changes kind of the vibration of our body and moves our body into action. And it's those actions that we take that create the results we get in this world, whether they're good or bad, whether we like them or not. It's the results that we get. So that's a real super simple kind of process. So he says, I don't know what, this is in the foreword right there. We've talked about it a little bit, but he says, you yourselves are the maker of yourselves. Why are we, if it's so simple, why are we making ourselves in a way that we don't really want to, right? Or creating the circumstances that we don't really want? Well, this is the creative process that we just laid out. So our thoughts, they change the way we feel. Our feelings move us into action. Our actions, they are the things that give us our results, right? And because we can control our thoughts, we can control our results. That's in theory, at least, right? In practice, it's a whole lot more difficult, right? Than it looks right there. But this is the creative process. This is how we create, and it is possible. But this is what most of us do. Most of us do this, and this is what most people do, is they engage in this recreative process, recreating the same kind of life over and over and over again. It's creating a new, but over and over and over again. So it seems like nothing, not changing thoughts or feelings or actions results. When we then look at our results, we think about our results and we make up this kind of story. And we say, well, this is all I'm capable of doing. This is all I can do. That's just me. And we're recreating the same thing over and over and over again. The same thoughts produce the same feelings, same actions, getting the same results. So when we look at this, drawing that Thurman Fleet came up with, I just really like it. We call it the stick man. And we look at this, and the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, what we're doing is we're just kind of operating on autopilot, right? Over and over and over again. And he talks about character, and we're really going to dig into some of that in the audios that were released next week. But he talks of this is character, and it's shaped in the subconscious mind. He calls it the fertile soil of our subconscious mind. But that character really then influences our thinking, and then character is impressed upon the body, changes the vibrations of the body, moves us into the same actions over and over and over again, interacting with the same people, thinking the same exact thoughts, justifying it in the same exact way, recreating the same results on autopilot over and over and over again. And because it's the same results, they're the results that we don't really like. Or are they? Sometimes I guess if you're where you want to be, but this is what happens when we're on autopilot. So how do we break this? If we're on autopilot and we're doing the same results and all that kind of good stuff, how do we get out of it? How do we move forward with this? Well, he kind of gives us, what he gives us is actually on, if you go down on, I think it's line 7 of your book, this is the next kind of piece of this. He says, mind is the master weaver, both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance. And this is so, well, you know, you'll probably hear me say this over and over again, right? But you're probably gonna get sick and tired of me saying this, but man, the dude can write some good stuff. It's just so well written, I think. But this is so well written. It's so powerful. Mind is the master weaver. And I love the idea that mind is weaving all the time, stitching, stitch by stitch, and molding our character, molding our circumstances. New character emerging from what was there already. New circumstances emerging from what was there already. It's not, it's not kind of magically recreating something completely new. It emerges out of what was already there, right? Mind is the master weaver, and I love the idea of garment of character, the garment of circumstance, stitching the garment of circumstance that we wear. I mean, just think about that, right? Think about that. I mean, it's really powerful, really powerful. So let's look at then conceptually, mind as the master weaver. What does it do? Well, mind creates our character stitch by stitch, right? And our circumstance stitch by stitch. What can be simpler, right? What can be simpler? Well, there's kind of two problems there. There's two misunderstandings when you look at this. Mind stitch by stitch molds our character and our circumstance, but mind doesn't, it doesn't really mold our circumstances directly. And there's kind of like a time delay there, so we don't actually directly change our circumstance. We mold our character, and our character then is reflected back to us in our circumstances. It's indirect. And that's why we keep saying that this is an inner game, that inner game. The inner game is just so important. And in fact, the inner game is the only game of shaping our character, building our character. It's working on us. It's an us and us deal, isn't it? And as we shape our character, it's reflected back to us in our circumstance, kind of in our experiences of the world. And it kind of sounds, like, oh my goodness, man, whoa, hold on a second, man, whoa. But it's kind of actually straightforward and very logical when you think about it, because our character is how we operate in the world and how we're perceived by others in the world as well. It's our perceptions, our actions, our feelings, what we will believe will happen, what we believe won't happen, what we believe can happen. It's what we'll try, right? It's whether we'll give up or whether, we'll make the decision to keep going. And all those things through our interactions in the world create the circumstances. So conceptually, the world holds up this merciless mirror. And that's a quote, I think, from Psycho-Cybernetics, that the world holds up this merciless mirror. And conceptually, our circumstances are reflected back. They're a reflection of our character. But the process is like this. We shape our character, and our character reflected back to us in circumstance. And guys, this is kind of intro to the rest of the program and how the rest of the program is about. It's understanding this and how we do this. And I just think it's, so powerful. And this is why it applies to everything, right? No matter what you want to achieve, it's this inner game. So kind of to close this out, whatever you want to achieve, whether in your spiritual walk, whether it's with your family relationships, your business, or personal growth, it's your personal growth is at kind of the heart of whether or not you're going to be successful. And the book that we're talking about, it really explains that. So this is just, I hope this has added value to you, but this has just been a super quick, deeper dive on what we'll be talking about ongoing and on the forward some. And our live videos that we'll be doing over the next few weeks will be very similar to this right here. We're, I've kind of created this PowerPoint slideshow type thing. And anyway, like I said, I hope that has added value to you guys. I hope that makes sense. And I'm looking forward to diving into any questions that you guys have and anything you want to pull back up from that. So I'm unmute you guys. And whoopsie. And any questions? I think you guys can unmute yourself now. So just now, time of Q&A. If you've got some questions you have, if you have your vision statement you would like for me to look into, I'd love to do that. So anything, let's open it up.
Cory, I like I didn't even catch the part where the mind didn't directly weave the circumstance right away. Kind of weaves it through character. But the time delay really, I was like, anyway, that resonated with me.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You think about that. And we love that quote in the beginning where he says, mind is the master weaver, but it is that time delay. And we talked a little bit about it. You plant that seed of corn, it's going to take 120 days for that seed of corn to come up. But man, character development and becoming the type of leader that you want to become, man, that's a process, right? And yeah, and it reflects back to us over time. So yeah. Any other thoughts? Anything that stood out? Any questions about that? Or, hey, little short guy, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I'm good with some of that too.
I really like until you kind of talked about verse 5 and how really important it was. I mean, I kind of knew it was important because it's spaced out, and so it's kind of like there's a big old space on top and bottom, so it's kind of like, hey, you look at this. But after you kind of talked about it, line 6, it kind of changed for me. Is by virtue of thoughts which they choose and encourage, and then that kind of that little triangle thing that you had of the master weaver and mastermind, and it shapes the character and the circumstance. Well, if your mind, you're thinking thoughts, and if you're choosing and encouraging the wrong thoughts, then you're shaping your character, and that's going to, I don't know, it kind of really changed number 6, like if that makes any sense.
That's good. Something that hit me as you said that, where he talks about the thoughts they choose, but then I think the other word that's really, really stood out to me there was encourages. How many people, I think about, times of falling into sin, right? And how it kind of started out as a small thought, but then you kind of sat on that. Or maybe some people that hold grudges with people, how they just kind of encourage that thought, Anyway, that jumped out to me as you were saying that one.
Well, like the encouraging the thought, what I had written down and shared the other day was the financial thing that I shared, where it was where you're choosing, the self-denial.
Yeah.
That was pretty big, and you got, for me anyway, because I'm real quick to order something off Amazon.
He's got that hot hand.
Oh, yeah. I deleted the app, but anyway, that was a couple months ago. But that self-denial piece that made sense, and I think that you have to, for me, like that the word encourage makes a lot of sense.
Man, it does. Me too, Nicholas. I'm not jumping ahead, but this sentence is later on here just a few passages. A noble and godlike character is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking. And then it talks about an ignoble and bestial character, depraved by the same process, is the result of continued harboring of negative and wallowing thoughts. It's like, all right, we have to stand guard at the door of our mind as we let this thought, some of them just pop up, and we either got to kick them out, and we have to fertilize. And Nicholas, you were saying it just right, but fertilize and really focus only on those thoughts where we want to be later. If that makes any sense. Don't smile, Edward. I just messed all that up. But that makes sense. Like that just clicked with me right there. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Edward, you look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, and it's along the lines of what Nicholas and Tanny are saying, because working for so long, right, for different employers and whatnot, whether it be in the restaurant industry or even when I was in the military or whatnot, it always seemed like your frontline workers, you have those one or two leaders that they're always positive. There's always a bright side to everything, right? And then, but typically your frontline workers are the ones that are like griping, complaining, why is this like this, or what, why does it have to be like that? And over the years now that I'm being with the company that I'm in now, and I see leadership from a different perspective, and it's like, yeah, that is jacked up or that doesn't function right, but we can make it right. We can make it better. And so I see this gradual progression of my mind anyways, of, hey, you know what? That does suck or stink. But you know what? You're in a position where you can influence others. And so why focus on that and let's focus on the good things that can come out of this. And, like with every obstacle, there's a solution for everything, right? And knowing that there's a solution, then makes you feel better, right? It makes you feel confident, it makes you feel secure, to get the job done and move on. But you can also influence people to think that way too. So it's funny. So I went from having a boss that has been negative, to a boss that's extremely positive and an extremely powerful leader. And it's changed my mindset over time, and like you said, it's not like that it happened like within a week or 2 weeks or whatever. It's just been a gradual process, and it's mind-boggling to me. Like, I wish I would have known that 20 years ago, coming up, and I'd be a lot further than I am right now. It's like you said, as soon as you open your mind to those things, then your growth, which we talked about this morning about growing, your path to growth is so much faster. But it starts with, the mindset. So I just wanted to add that.
It's good stuff. Love how you've grown in your awareness there. That's good. That's good stuff. One little thought here. Our very last week on this book, we're going to be in the chapter on serenity. And just kind of give you guys a heads up, our challenge for that week is we're going to be writing that chapter out for 5 days in a row, right? We're going to write the whole chapter out. And it talks in there about, we're going to write it in our voice. And he talks about in there what you were kind of going with there, Edward, and I loved it. But he starts with calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. And that's kind of what I hear. You're on that journey right there, man. And I think that's awesome. But as we write that out, where it kind of goes, a man becomes calm in the measure that he understands. All that, where it says a man, you're going to replace that with your name. You're going to say Cory or I. Cory becomes calm in the measure that I understand myself, right? So anyway, just kind of give you guys a heads up on that. We'll be writing the entire chapter with your name in it. All right. Any other thoughts?
Let's talk about the 90% statistic.
Yes.
90% of our thoughts are the same as they were the previous day.
Yeah.
So the significance of that would be to change the undesirable thoughts slowly. So how do you do that? What's kind of a process in that of stopping those negative thoughts and replacing those?
twofold. And 90%, this is actual full on research right here, right? This is not something I made up, right? That's some research. So 90%, we think between 60 and 90 thoughts a day, but 90% of those thoughts are the same exact thoughts that you thought yesterday.
Mhm.
Now, us in this group, I mean, we're probably not at 90, you know, we're probably thinking a few more new thoughts each day because we're into personal growth and development, but most people live on autopilot. So twofold to answer your question. One is we have to be aware of the thoughts that we're allowing to come in, right? Stand guard, right? Above all else, Solomon says, above all else, guard your heart. Well, how do you guard your heart? Your heart is that subconscious mind. That's your heart of hearts. How do you do that? Well, we've talked about it. Your conscious mind, you can accept or reject anything, right? And if you don't reject it, it automatically goes into that subconscious part of our mind. That's why we talk to kids. You got to pay attention to what you're watching. You got to pay attention to what you're listening to, because it automatically filters into the subconscious mind, whether they know it or not. So number one is we have to be aware of what we're allowing in. Be aware. Just open up our wilderness. Number two, that subconscious mind we've talked about, that's where your habits are. That's where your beliefs are. That's where your opinions and your perceptions are. So as you have a thought come in and you capture that thought, you kind of grab it by the collar and put it up against the wall and say, thought, are you for me or are you against me, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But you've got some beliefs about that thought. You've got some habits attached to that thought, right? And if you have, say I have a thought to be a millionaire, right? Whatever, right? Just a random thing. I have a belief attached to that, right? And I'm going to be a millionaire. And then something in my mind says,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're not. Well, you have to challenge that thought. You have to challenge it, right? And say, up until now, there's two things I kind of talk to my talking head in my mind is up until now, right? Up until now, that may have been a fact. But facts change. Truth is constant, right? Facts change. So up until now. And then the other thing is when I have a positive thought or something that's an idea that's a new, and I have something negative come in, I'll say, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And Tanny's made fun of me. We'll be in a conversation. I'll say, that's interesting, you know, but I catch myself is I have a negative thought come in and I say, isn't that interesting? And what you're doing is you're stopping the flow, right? You're pausing and you're thinking on, why is that? Why did I have that thought? Why did I have that? And I'll straight up be honest with you guys. I think a lot of the racism type stuff right now that's kind of coming up, you know, people say, well, I'm not racist or whatever, but if you have that thought come up of I don't know, you guys can make up whatever, but if you can say, isn't that interesting? Why do I believe that? Why did that thought come in? Quick example of this. So I told this, I think, in our Tuesday morning men's Bible study thing. So God had told me to do something, and I knew it. It was clear, and I didn't do it, right? So I sinned, blatant sin, right? And I was about to go out for a run, and let me tell you guys my thought. My thought was, I'm about to go out for this run. Man, a dog's going to chase me. Oh, I'm going to get hit by a car, you know? And God said, hold on a second. Do you really believe that about me? Like, do you really think that's who I am? But I had, you know, he stopped in that moment. He stopped that train of thought. But we've got to be aware of it too, and say, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And just kind of finish out that story. Is that, do you really believe that's who I am and that's how I am? And he said, if your kids make a mistake, is your first thought to kill them, to go hit them with a car? And no, right? You love them, right? And there are times where you love on your kids. There are times you challenge them. There's times you discipline them. But in that moment, he was teaching me, right? So anyway, so twofold. One, become aware, stand guard. And then number two is challenge those thoughts. Up until now, that may have been a fact, but facts change. And then, isn't that interesting? Why am I thinking that?
Cory, is there a way to implement visualization into accessing the subconscious mind. So if you've got that thought or you've got that belief attached to the thought, but it's not true, similar to how God stopped your train of thought, you almost visualized him telling you, you think that was me? So can't you figure out a way how to do that to ourselves? Like picture ourselves over here and ourselves here, questioning ourselves. Do you really believe that you're not going to be a millionaire? Or do you really believe that you can't earn $100,000, whatever it is? That visualization piece, there's got to be something connected there.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, no. So this morning in our group, remember we talked about that subconscious part of our mind. That's our emotional mind, right? That's our feeling part of our mind. And to anchor it into that subconscious mind, we have to do it with feeling, right? So if I've got that image of, I want to be a millionaire, and then this belief of, well, all millionaires take advantage of people, all millionaires are underhanded. Well, I have to challenge that thought. Why do I believe that? And here's some truths that point to the opposite, right? Millionaires can build entire cities in Guatemala, or whatever, right? But challenging that, but exactly what you're saying is you're visualizing it. But as you're visualizing it, you're adding depth to it. You're looking at it from the front. You're looking at it from the back, from the side, up and down. You're playing with that. We talked about the imagination as the workshop of the mind. You're taking that thought into the workshop of the mind. But the key is adding some emotion to it, right? What is the feeling there? Some of your biggest memories, maybe from childhood, if you think back to those memories, think back to the feeling. You'll be driving, Tanny, I guarantee you, if you drive back down to Jackson and you drive down to a street you used to go down in Madison, an idea or a memory will pop up, but because it produced some kind of emotion. So as we're trying to remember forward, which is kind of what some of these mindset people talk about, is remembering forward, we can create that by building that image and attaching it with emotion. Does that make sense? Or did I ramble? No? Okay. All right.
There's this song, I think it's called Mavericks. Yeah, it's by Maverick City Music, and it's called "Take Me Back," and it's an amazing song. The first time I listened to it, like I was almost in tears, because what it is the whole song. The whole song is basically a prayer of God, take me back to the faith of a child. And it's like, God, take me back to the moment where you first held my hand. And I don't know.
Wow.
Y'all got to listen to it. It's a really good song.
Yeah,
and it's
awesome.
basically everything you were just talking about, but like 100%, about your things. So.
Scott, you got anything to add to? Take away, don't like, dislike, good like?
Oh, I could go on for hours. I mean, I wrote 3 or 4 pages here, and that just prompts, multiple questions that come with it. The one, and it seems to be, I've been in this series of the sower. As you sow, so shall you reap, and what that means from a faith standpoint.
Yeah.
And to kind of go with what Nicholas was talking about, taking me back to that faith of a child or the faith of a little seed. It makes me question that, why we doubt the power that we have in our own minds. And if we were given that promise of, if you had the faith the size of a mustard seed, you could tell this mulberry tree to be uprooted and cast into the sea, and it would obey you. And I catch myself questioning, if we have such a bold promise, then why do we, or as you're talking earlier, the thoughts that go in our head, why do we question that? And I know a lot of people, especially in the church realm, they want to question the prosperity gospel. But I personally have come to a feeling in the last probably year that I believe as Christian men that we are almost called by God to become wealthy and prosperous, whether that's a monetary standpoint or what. But I truly feel that we are called to become wealthy. And it's that challenging of those thoughts that you said that, you know, if you say I'm going to be a millionaire, and then you have all these negative connotations associated with that, where did we get that from? And I can tell you for me that was in my foundation, even in my Christian youth and coming from the church, that money is the root of all evil. No, it's not. The same brick that can build an orphanage can be used to tear down a window, but it's how you use it once it's been put in your hands that really matters. And so those are just kind of some things of questioning my own thoughts and why I feel the certain, and having to break through a lot of that stuff, especially from the faith and the money standpoint, because Job would not have qualified for Section 8 housing. You know, David was was king. He was a very rich man. Noah would not have built an ark had he not had resources at his disposal. And these are the things that I question kind of some of my Christian peers about all the time. And why do we not teach that more?
Yeah.
Philip, my mentor actually said this week, we were talking with some people, and he said that, you know, money in the hand of good people produces good things. Money in the hand of bad people produces bad things.
Yep.
Exactly what you're saying right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So the guys who wrote this book that we're studying, Paul and Roddy, Paul has this kind of vignette where he says, the world needs you rich, right? Mm-hmm. So he does this thing where, hey, Nicholas, what charity would you give to? And then Edward, what charity would you give to? Tanny, Thomas, Scott, what charity would you guys give to? And then he's like, this world needs you rich. This world needs you to be doing good things in the world, right? And the money needs to be in the hands of people who have God's Holy Spirit within them, because they're going to be led by the Holy Spirit to do good things. People with the opposite, you know, are striving to earn and gain and all that for the opposite reasons, right? So anyway, I'm with you. I think we could stay there forever, but that's good stuff. Tanny, were you going to say something?
Man, no, when you said the world needs you rich, like that almost is ammunition to help me battle oh, you can't do that. Oh, yeah. The millionaires are the ones that are funding these whatever negative things, like Thomas was saying. Good people with money create good things, bad people with money create bad. So, but if the world needs you rich, and I'm a child of God, it needs me rich. Come on. Yes, it does. Thank you. That's all I needed right there. That's all I needed.
He said, I can go to my interview now.
I've got 11 minutes, so I'm going to roll. And yes, the world needs me rich.
He said, now I can ask for a big salary now.
Tanny's saying, isn't that interesting?
Up until now, I haven't, but isn't that interesting? No. All right.
I got a question about the growth sheet.
Yes,
so I did it like, I printed it out and I tried writing down my 5 goals or my 5 whatever on separate times, like to where I had completely different thinking about stuff. One was in the morning, one was at night, and one was in the middle of the day right after lunch. So I tried to do it where I was completely different times, and for the most part it was all the same of where I want to be. So I feel like I'm pretty good as far as what I'm wanting in 6 months, where I think I know where I want to go. But the one that I had the most trouble with, or the 2, was number 3 and number 4, which is freedom of time and money growth, and then chosen vacation and business growth. Because, I'm quitting my full-time job in 3 weeks and starting my own business. I started the business last year, but now I'm at the point. So to me, I had a really hard time separating those because, right now, I guess I'm in sink or swim phase. So I guess I'm not really asking a question, but do you know where my question is?
It sounds like, how do you separate the 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I'm thinking about number 4, your chosen vocation, I'm thinking about what's your vision for your company, right? Where do you want that business? What would you love your business to look like? So because you are now, you're moving away from kind of working for somebody, and you're moving into a career that you kind of control, and that's leaping off in there, right? It is your chosen vocation, right? And you're building a business. So I would write that vision as my vision for our company. The other one,
What is my company doing?
well, my vision for it, right? So what do you want to be known for? What does your company want to be known for? What is your company doing, right? So I don't see this much as a doing, but who are we, right? Like who am I in my spiritual walk? Who am I with my freedom of time, money, and those kind of things? So maybe, would it help if I read mine? Or would that, no,
Sure.
no, if it doesn't, that's all good. Do you care if I hear yours?
Yeah. Well, I've got, like I said, I got 3 because I didn't know I was struggling with them. So basically it was like, I may have missed the point on it, I guess, but I kind of put like, I guess maybe more of goals. Like I put that, my company is now, I'm back to producing the same salary I'm at now, if not more, and hired my business partner. So I'm going full-time first because I get health insurance through the military. So it was a strategic move. And, I'm taking a pay cut. So, that's really that's really the only thing I've got is that that we've got him and me both full time. And then I've finished a couple extra certs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
So when you say that, what image do you get?
Like a visual image.
Uh-huh.
I see both of us, at an office, like in an office space, whether or not that's, like not in my house. Like we're able to actually go somewhere and have an office space where we can have our whiteboards and collaborate, and we're working full time.
Yeah.
Both of us working full time, delivering our IT services, our various IT services, which most of it's remote support. So
yeah. How does that feel when you say that? When you're in the office, both of you are there working together, you're collaborating, you're bouncing ideas off of each other, you're serving people, you're not in your living room, you're in a office space. How does that feel?
Fulfilling. I've had a little bit of a taste of it this week. And so, this week has been very fulfilling because my supervisor said I can go ahead and burn all my PTO. And so this week I've done nothing but general tech, and it's extremely fulfilling and awesome. And so that's kind of what I'm tasting. What I think it would feel like is kind of what it's been like for this week, but all the time, because I'm making my schedule and I can physically go to my clients when they're needing me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think I'm answering the question.
Yeah, no, what you just described, that whole thing was your vision statement, right? Me and my business partner are working full time out of an office. We're working together. We're collaborating day in and day out. We're serving our clients remotely. We're working with these kind of people. And that's your vision, right? And then from that, you can start making goals. You can start setting goals, right? But your vision is that picture. When you close your eyes, that image, right? And you want to get as creative with that image as you can. So if you're playing with the workshop of the mind, you're sitting there, what kind of chair are you sitting in, right? What kind of ideas, what kind of whiteboard do you have? Is one like this, or is it a clear one, right? What kind of mark are you writing with? You know, you're playing with that, and all you're trying to do is you're emotionalizing that and anchoring it into your mind, right? Then you can set goals based off of that. So, you know, you've got that, and then a goal would be, you know.
Well, I mean, I guess I have thought a lot about it. I mean, I can go on and on with what I want in my office, with my monitoring, my websites, got my down times, my up times, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I've definitely thought about it. I guess I didn't think about, I don't know why that would be so hard for me then. Because I definitely thought about it.
No. Sometimes you just need somebody to ask you a different question. That's all.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've got it in your mind. Now get it on paper. That vision, that image, you're trying to describe that on paper, right? And from there, you can set goals. And honestly, sometimes I just set these this vision statement, and then I'll create I am statements around it, right? And those are kind of my goals. And your goals will be easy to determine. They'll be easy to spot. Opportunities will be easy to spot. But creating that vision of where you're going is key. That's starting point number one. And then if you like goals, you can set goals based off of that. But I think a lot of us, we get so hung up on goals. I know I've got to have a goal. Instead of sitting back and going into the workshop of the mind and creating, what is it that you would really like? I know I'm supposed to have a goal. I'm probably supposed to do this. Instead of having that, just play, you know, let it go and see what happens and what you come up with. Is that helpful, Nicholas?
It is. Okay. Yeah. I actually, I'm very OCD and anal in a lot of things. So when the visions and all these aspects of my life help me focus all the goals, because I've always had goals and I always make goals, and I've got too many goals. I'll think of something, I'm like, hey, that's great, and I'll write it down. And then I'll find the sticky note 2 weeks later. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but the vision helped me focus them all. Like, okay, well, this is where I definitely want to be. And then, well, now I can create my 37,000 goals and steps that'll get me there.
Yeah. One of the things we're going to do when we launch in August, Thomas and Edward have already kind of done it, is your values. We'll figure out your top 5 values. And having that vision and the values helps you make decisions a little bit better when opportunities come, ideas come in. Is it an alignment? Is it not? Is it a match? Is it not? Is it not? So I know we got about 2 minutes. Any last thoughts before we wrap her up? Like Scott, I could stay on here for about 4 hours, but I know you guys are on lunch break, so.
I actually freed my day up, so I'm good after this.
Okay. Well, y'all, me and Scott about to have a, we're about to have a seminar if y'all want to hang around. No, I'm playing.
You know, the best
Cory,
step typically happens before and then after the meeting is what I've always found out.
That's right. Go ahead, Edward.
No, I was going to ask, so on the 6-month vision, each one should start with the I am statement, correct? So that I'm gathering that right. Okay.
I am, or I have. What you don't want to have is I will be, or I hope to, or at some point, or hopefully, anything like that. You are stating it as it's happening. And then the other thing is you want to state
There's no doubt, right?
Yeah, no doubt. You want to state it in the positive. So let me real quick before we wrap up. If I ask you guys, or if I say to you guys, the fox's tail is not white, what do you get a picture of?
Red.
White tail.
Red. You probably see a white tail, right? Well, it's the same thing. If I say the fox's tail is not white, you most of the time you get an image of a white tail, right? Even though I said it's not, that's what you get. So where your focus goes, that's where your energy flows. So if I'm saying in 6 months I am out of debt and I'm earning whatever, well, my mind focuses on debt. I don't want it to focus on debt. I want it to focus on income producing activities, right? So stating it as the I am and stating it in the positive of where I want to focus my attention, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That helpful, Edward?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, I'm, like I said, this is 1:00. I know for any of you guys to get off, I'm wide open too, Ever, if you want to keep talking about it. So for anybody that needs to hop off, it's all good. But it looks like I haven't cleared it up.
Yes. Well, no, because I'm doing something where I'm writing down. So I write my goals every day, and then after the goals, I write the target. So the target gives me basically the steps to get to whatever it is the goals are. However, what you're saying, the problem with my goal, or not saying not all my goals, but some of the goals mentioned, like you said, like I put debt stack debt, right? Like eliminate my debt by debt stacking. So by putting in debt in there, I'm thinking of just the debt part, right? So it's not really, so I want to make sure that kind of what we were talking about before, where if we're writing these things, we want to eventually over time get better at it. So if I'm writing the wrong things, then I need to reevaluate how I'm writing those goals, or maybe even not write goals, but maybe write, vision statements or something like that. So that's where my mind was going with that. So
I see. Yeah. So when you say debt stacking, automatically the word debt, and there's a negative connotation to debt, right? So we want to be on the opposite side in that positive side. So income producing activity, or however you want to phrase it. It needs to be your wording. It can't be mine or anybody else's. It needs to be in your wording, right? However you would phrase that in the positive light.
right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have we got time to go through one or two?
Yeah, I do.
I'll share mine. These first 29 words that I'm about to say took me 4 years to write. And this is my personal mission statement. And then my 6-month plan follows out of it, okay? So this come from a book I read entitled Backbone, and I forget the author, but he said that every man should write a mission statement. So mine came out to be to live God's love, to be a servant of humanity by being a beacon of light and hope, to elevate my fellow man by living at my maximum potential. That has become my vision statement over the last 4 years for my life. The 6-month one I wrote is, it is amazing to see growth in a short span. I see the expansion of my faith daily by my continual stretching of my faith daily. I see the fruits of my labors by the realization of a startup business that produces $8,500 a month. Even as it continues to grow, I realize that the weight of what it means to live God's love, to be a servant of humanity. The profitability of my endeavors have allowed me more time to volunteer and grow into the leader I was always meant to be. My wife and children light up when speaking of the change they see in me. Living my calling as entrepreneur creator has been the reward for building faith and applying love. I am able to create an economy in my area of both health and wealth. Doing so is the realization of being a beacon of light and hope for my fellow man. To elevate my fellow man by living at my maximum potential. To see the change in my body allows me to give that living testimony of hope that it is never too late to live the life intended for you by our Creator. The completion of a half marathon at age 44, after being a smoker for 24 years of my life, is only a small part of the promise of restoration when living life according to the will of God. I will grow this mission daily as His mercies are renewed with the rising of the sun.
That's really good. I like that. So when you say that, and when you say it over and over, what's the image you get?
I see a man at total peace with who he sees in the mirror when I can live that.
So you see yourself standing in front of the mirror, and what's the image? Kind of describe to us the image you see.
So if I were to close my eyes and picture what all that means is me sitting on my front porch just looking out on the eve of a beautiful day with a peaceful sunset, and just being at total peace with who I am and where I'm going daily.
You got a smile on
and
you?
That is something that I have fought with my life, is to come to the end of my day and feel like a success at the end of that day. Because there was always that, well, you should have done this, or you could have done that. I grew up with a man who believed that it was right or wrong, it was never good enough. And that has left me with just a little bit of a scar that I've had to kind of overcome. So for me to be able to look myself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, Scott, you've done well, has been a major accomplishment for my life.
That's awesome, man. That's good, man. I love how you've talked about overcoming that. You've challenged that belief and that mindset, and you've kind of moved on from that. So as you say that, the key again is in that image. And, I would look at yourself from the back, like, how are you sitting, and then from the front, do you have a smile on your face? And is the smile just or are you showing some teeth, and, you just play around with it because you're anchoring it in that mind. And we talked, Edward, this morning, you can't speed up, that incubation period of character growth or reaching that goal. You can't speed it up, right? We know I plant a seed of corn in 120 days, I'm going to have corn, but we don't know how long character growth takes. We don't know how long an idea takes to sprout, but you can't speed it up by emotionalizing it, right? You can speed the process up. It's like putting Miracle Grow on it, right? So I think that's perfect. The only thing I would change is anywhere where it says to become or will. I am. That's the only change. That's perfect.
Or I will.
Yeah, or I will. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's perfect though. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah. When you were reading that, two things did to me. One, I envisioned you wearing a cape, so like a superhero, because you can overcome anything. And then two, just the emotion. Like, if I had read that, I couldn't have gotten through it without being emotional. So that was how impactful that was. So appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is good stuff. I like that. That's good. Well, guys, any other thoughts?
The Miracle Grow thing you said, you just said, attach an emotion to it. I haven't thought of that in words, but it's very, very true. But Scott, that everything you said was really cool. It makes me want to spend about 6-7 more hours on everything that I've written down the past few days.
Well, like I said, a lot of that comes from something that's taken me about 4 years to digest down into 29 words. That was just a little more of an expansion on it based on kind of where I'm at in life right now.
Yeah.
So that definitely took some time to come out of me.
I think that was perfect. And that's kind of when Cory Smith, he had asked me, do I have to have this done by Friday? And I would like for it to be done. But if you haven't been thinking on it for a little bit, there's no way you get to kind of where Scott's was right there, So you kind of let it just sink in and you toy with it. And but I would say don't wait either, right? Because you refine it over time. Let me finish and I'll come. I want to watch you open it.
Never fall in love with your first draft. That's the kickoff point. If this is the first time you've ever written one of these things, don't try for it to be perfect right out the gate, because it will evolve and change as you do. And this is what I have found for me personally, that, what I started with a long time ago was something totally different than the way I see myself now. When I first started writing these like 6-month goals, kind of mission statements, a lot of it was truly focused about what I wanted for my own selfish desires. And it's really taken me a long time to try to develop something where I really incorporate what it means for my family into it, what that means for my actions having impact on guys like you, guys in my community. And I think that really, once you can kind of find, removing myself from the selfish desires of it, but still knowing that it's okay to desire those things. But what can I take to my fellow man and to the world that benefits them, that also benefits me, is where my growth has come from in that.
Good. Well, man, I've really enjoyed it. I really could stand here and talk forever. Our son his birthday is Sunday, and his birthday present just came in, and he's like, "Can I open it? Can I open it?" He said, "Well, you got to hold on a second. No, I want to watch."
What timing?
Yeah. Well, guys, I do hope this has been a a worthy trade of your time. I really do. I say it anytime I do a training that, you're trading your life to be here, right? You could be doing anything else. Anytime you do anything, you're trading your life to be there. This better have been a worthy trade of your time. If not, I've wasted it, right? So I hope this has been a worthy trade of your time. I hope y'all have a great rest of the weekend. And I will post this, first time you listen to it, you're at one level of awareness. Next time you listen, you're at a different, and you'll pick up something else. So anyway, man, y'all have a great rest of the weekend.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Cory.